Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. My name is, of course, the Battle Room, and it's Monday. So you know what that means? It's time to break down some teams. So this past weekend was the Champions Arena 2. Dare I say the sequel is better than the original. This tournament was put on by Victory Road, featuring Sekium, Folagor, and PokeAlex, 3 Spanish content creators. I believe they streamed the entire tournament from their Twitch channels. So it was very hype, and also there was a lot of money on the line. If you notice here, we have $2,000 for the winner, all the way up to even just getting $105 for top 16, which is honestly pretty solid, pricing wise for an online tournament. So yeah, it's a little bit of money on the line, and I feel like whenever the money is on the line, the players come to play, and we get some really saucy teams. So without further ado, let's check out where the Pokemon Champions metagame is at, and let's see what top cut this tournament. So the first team we're going to look at here is number 14th. And now this team, we're probably going to talk about this team a lot, but this team is really good. So I use this team actually at NAIC. I placed 18th with it. Obviously, Eric Rios ended up finishing second with the same 6 Pokemon, and this team has just become an absolute menace. I feel like I don't want to say it's better than Big 6 because I think they're very different in what they're trying to accomplish. Obviously, this one has Trick Room and Tailwind, whereas Big 6 is mostly just kind of a hyper offense Tailwind team with the best guys. But this team does focus a lot more on trying to leverage that speed control, in my opinion. Obviously, we have the Tailwind on Aerodactyl and the Trick Room on Farigiraf. But at the end of the day, they're both very powerful Sun teams that feature double Mega, right? So I think the strength of this team really comes from Farigiraf. Farigiraf enables so much. Blocking Fake Out is absurdly really strong. It also blocks priority moves. It just makes the game easier to play, in my opinion. I've never used Farigiraf before NAIC, and I love Farigiraf now. It is absurdly strong. Even in this metagame where there aren't that many Fake Out users, obviously there is Incineroar, there is Sneasler, but just being able to set up guaranteed win conditions is just so nice, and Farigiraf with Armor Tail helps you do that. Twin Beam has become the move of choice on Farigiraf. It allows you to KO Sash Sneasler, and I feel like Sash Sneasler is picking up a bit, that the less power that you get from Twin Beam is worth it just for that cheeky little KO. Thunderbolt is what brings everything together. I think Thunderbolt is perfect on Farigiraf. It gives you much needed electric type coverage, and there just isn't electric type coverage in the game. So having it on Farigiraf is really nice. It also makes your Trick Room mode much easier to sweep with, right? Because there's a lot of Pokemon, if you look at Sylveon, Charizard, King Gambit, they don't have a lot of active ways to slow down enemy Charizards. But with Thunderbolt, getting one Thunderbolt off is usually enough to now turn Heat Wave into a 2-hit KO, right? Like Heat Wave, Thunderbolt kills Charizard now. So that little extra damage is exactly what the team needs, and I think Thunderbolt makes this team incredibly powerful. Trick Room is going to obviously reverse the speed, so Trick Room is important. And then some players, this slot can be kind of anything. It could be Roar, Helping Hand, Protect, but this one's going to be Helping Hand to further boost the damage potential of our team. King Gambit, the beauty of this team is that you get to run Sash King Gambit, which I think is just straight up evil. It's so hard to remove, it's so hard to deal with. It functions incredibly well in Trick Room, it functions incredibly well as a lead with Farigiraf, and it also functions perfectly in Tailwind, right? King Gambit Aerodactyl is one of the grossest leads in the game. You pair King Gambit and Aerodactyl together, you can't intimidate them reliably. They have the threat of bringing in Farigiraf, and they just output so much damage, right? Like, it's very difficult to remove King Gambit as well, paired with the Aerodactyl, because now you have Tailwind support. Together, they can just like wombo combo, just smack 2 guys and get a KO with Rock Slide plus one of his stabs. If you don't outspeed King Gambit, he's really difficult to KO with the Sash. He does get to run max speed, max attack, so now you don't even have to worry about speed ties with other King Gambits. There's so many benefits to this Sash King Gambit set. It's just incredible. He also gets to run all the coverage and cheat a little bit with Armor Tail. Then we have Sylveon. Sylveon is one of the best fairy types in the game that is not Floette, right? That's the big thing, is Floette is the best. But after that, it's like Whim, Sylveon, and Whimsicott doesn't do a lot of damage, but Sylveon does. So pairing Sylveon here, it functions. It also has a perfect speed tier here to be a Trick Room Demon and also a Tailwind Demon. Also, it just does tons of damage. That's really all it's for. This one's pretty simple. Hyper Voice is your spread move. Hyper Beam does your nuke. And then Quick Attack is very useful priority that I do tend to love. Then we have this Life Orb Garchomp. So the big difference between NAIC and now is that Life Orb came out, and Life Orb is perfect on Garchomp. Soft Sand was fine. You could run a defensive item like Roselli Berry, but Life Orb really brings this Chomp together and makes him into an absolute demon, right? Especially with this moveset. Toxapex is a thing. Toxapex is something you have to worry about. So actually having access to Stomping Tantrum is nice. Besides the fact that it does ignore Wide Guard, Stomping Tantrum is so strong. Earthquake is obviously, you want to pair it. We have Flying Pokemon. Let's spam those EQ. And then the Life Orb Dragon Claw allows you to KO other Garchomps. I think Life Orb just put this team even more powerful than it was. It was very good. It almost won NAIC. In my opinion, the matchup was really good. It probably should have won NAIC, but I do think that now it just got better with Life Orb. Aerodactyl is obviously a demon. He's all about setting up Tailwind, and then he has all the coverage you could ever need. Rock Slide is amazing. Dual Wing Beat is nice flying coverage to have. And then Ice Fang. Ice Fang is so strong in Aerodactyl. It allows you to KO other Garchomps, put pressure on other dragons, but specifically just KOing other Garchomps is just incredible. It puts this Aerodactyl above and beyond what you can expect from him, and I think Aerodactyl is just so strong on this team, especially when you get to Mega Evolve him. You do have that mind game as well of the tail room, and then also of the two different megas. And I think also what makes Aerodactyl so potent is that he pairs well with Megazard. You can run Aerodactyl and regular Aerodactyl with Megazard and just Mega your Zard, and you're feeling good, you're feeling happy. Now obviously you can, in the Forbidden Text, you can not Mega Evolve your Zard too and Mega your Arrow, but for the most part, you want to be Megaing the Zard in that situation. And then Zard is just Zard. Also on this team, traditionally they run very little speed on him. It's all about the bulk to capitalize in Trick Room. And then also in Tailwind, he's already fast enough to outspeed everything he needs to. So you don't really need to run much speed, if any, at all. So this team is just one of the best teams in the game. It's something you're going to have to be prepared for if you're playing on ladder, if you're playing in tournaments, if you're going to Worlds. This team is a team to beat here. It's kind of funny that we're talking about it as the 14th place team, but it is just so good. We're going to see a couple more of them. But yeah, so then next up is another team we got to talk about. This team has taken over the meta by storm. Blastoise has just kind of become a huge threat in this game. He pairs incredibly well with Delphox. Mega Blastoise just loves all the support pieces that Delphox and Floette love. So hey, why not just slot them on these teams? We saw a little bit of it at NAIC, but now with the new Pokemon, the new changes, I mean, which really wasn't many, Blastoise just became kind of a new meta trend. And I think Blastoise Delphox is a really good combo. It functions very similarly to Floette, but instead of a Floette, you have a Blastoise. And Blastoise can do a lot of damage. He's very much more of a high risk, high reward Pokemon. He turns into a glass cannon, where like Floette and Delphox do kind of get tanky. They're hard to KO. Blastoise, he says, nah, dude, I'm lowering my defenses and I'm going to sweep you in 3 turns. You better stop me, right? That's what he's trying to do. So we obviously have the Water Spout, Dark Pulse, Shell Smash set, which is basically all you need. Water Spout is your spread coverage. You keep this guy healthy, he will carry you. Shell Smash is obviously going to boost us, and then Dark Pulse is that really amazing coverage that allows us to hit key meta threats such as Basculin Legion. That is the big one, and other ghost types, Sinistra, for example, right? So we pair that with Sneasler, who has Quick Guard, Fake Out to help us set up our Shell Smashes or our Nasty Plots. And then also to protect our guys with Quick Guard. Specifically with Blastoise too, you want to avoid stuff like Sucker Punch from King Gambit. It ruins your damage potential. So having Quick Guard, perfection. Huge fan of the set on this team. I guess I should talk about Delphox really quick before we get into the supporting cast, because the supporting cast does enable both. But Delphox is really simple. It's very fast. Its typing makes it very good into Big 6. And then it does lots of damage, especially with Nasty Plots. Psyshock is a really great move, can hit Zard really hard. Heat Wave is amazing spread move. And then Nasty Plot just makes Delphox into kind of a glass cannon. It does have a lot of natural bulk, but still kind of a glass cannon. You do tons of damage, you set up, and its high natural speed just allows it to go absolutely nuts. Usually you do see timid Delphox, but they're usually just like outspeeding Sneasler. They're not like max speed anymore. Aerodactyls can outspeed them. It's kind of wishy-washy. Some of them are going to be fast, some of them are slower than Aerodactyl. It depends on the player and depends on the preferences. Then Incineroar is obviously there to press Fake Out as well, but he can also Parting Shot into Sinistra, Parting Shot into that second Fake Out. Like, it's very simple. You lead Incin plus one of the setup guys, Fake Out, Shell Smash or Nasty Plot, protect, parting shot, boom. What are you doing? How do you stop that play? What do you do? You also don't even have to do that. You could just hard switch him into the fake out user, hard switch him into Sinistra, and start pressing Rage Powder. So Instant Sinistra just creates this really godly combo of healing and annoyance and support. Sinistra is going to be, like, truthfully, it's kind of just there for hospitality and Rage Powder, but it does have a spread grass move if you need it, and Trick Room does give you that potential to help enable specifically the King Gambit mode as well. The Occa Berry is really interesting because it does allow you to switch into a Charizard hit, which I think is very beneficial, because if you notice on this team, like, obviously Delphox is pretty good into Charizard, and Blastoise is okay depending on the speed. Obviously, if they have a Tailwind or a Trick Room, Blastoise can get shut down pretty hard, but Sinistra is really nice here because it can just switch into a Heat Wave, right? It can heal Blastoise, heal Delphox, and Heat Wave, and switch out back into Incineroar to get another potential healing. So specifically into those Zard teams, Occa Berry is amazing. And then we have a third set of Pokemon here. So if that wasn't enough, if one of your king or queen of Blastoise and Delphox can't set up and sweep the game, we have a Prince. We have Swords Dance King Gambit that you can also pair. These players will sometimes also use this to beat Big Six. You just lead King Gambit plus Sneasler, fake out Swords Dance, and you just try to sucker punch your way through the team. And surprisingly, it works pretty well. You do have to get a lot of those reads right, but you do have so much to help enable King Gambit too. A lot of times, like, you don't need the 2 megas. You can just bring King Gambit, fake out Brothers, and Sinistra, and you can just continuously heal, provide that Rage Powder and fake out support, and win the game. This team is just really, really incredible, and I think it's picking up big time. I don't think it will go away at all, but I don't think it's like super, super broken. A lot of good players are interested in it, and I do think that it is a strong core, but I do think it's kind of the flavor of the month. We'll have to see if it can withstand the test of time. Now, next up here, we do have Ren's team. This is a team that's been getting a lot of popularity as well. This is a team that was built by Ubislow. For those who do not know, he is one of the best team builders in Japan. If you're familiar with my channel, you know who Ubislow is. And yeah, his teams are just incredible, right? And this was a team that he's been using for a while. The King Gambit is actually usually a Scarf Hydreigon. But other than that, it's the same exact team that we traditionally see from the Ubislow team, which has created kind of a new archetype of Zard teams. Zard, Metagross, Toxapex, right? I wouldn't say Metagross is even necessary, but like we saw at NAIC, Zard and Toxapex is very, very good. And now we're seeing some of the new tools help Toxapex be even more incredible and be even more annoying. So we have Grimmsnarl here. His main goal is to just be annoying. He can fake out, he can enable Zard, he can enable Toxapex, right? He can parting shot, he can set up that reflect, and he does have foul play because Basket Legion can be kind of annoying. That might be why the player here has decided to run King Gambit over Hydreigon, because Hydreigon is susceptible to speed control, where King Gambit has Sucker Punch no matter how you slice it, dude. He's going to be able to punch you, right? But Foul Play is really nice for hitting Basket Legion. You have all the utility of Parting Shot, Fake Out, Reflect, all just great moves to have. You pair that with stuff like Charizard, stuff like Metagross, and they become very, very difficult to kill. We don't have access to Intimidate or anything, so having that Reflect, having that Parting Shot is very, very big. I think Parting Shot Grimmsnarl, like Grimmsnarl losing Thunderwave might be a blessing because of how good Parting Shot is, and we didn't waste any time even thinking about Thunderwave, because Parting Shot is what makes Grimmsnarl broken. Parting Shot is so strong, consistently an amazing move. You can Parting Shot out Regenerator, you can Parting Shot out Bring in the Sun if you need to. It's just incredible, right? Now, Toxapex is really, really powerful. This Toxapex is also running Recover, which is something you don't see a lot of. Usually they do run Wide Guard. In fact, I've never seen Recover Toxapex. It makes sense, though. It makes sense. But Wide Guard, that utility that it provides, is usually really essential for a Charizard team. But this team did really well without it, so maybe they're onto something. But the idea here is Toxic is amazing, right? You press Toxic, things start dying very quickly. Toxapex is also probably the best Pokemon in the game to switch in. No matter what it's switching into, a Freeze Dry, an Archaludon Electroshot, it's gonna live the hit, right? That's the thing. And then you switch it out with Regenerator, you get that leftovers, and you just keep cycling it if you need to. But also, if it just switches in on a neutral hit, right? Or a resisted hit, right? It switches in on a Heat Wave from Charizard and a Kowtow Cleave. It's comfortable, dude. It's above half. It's just so consistent at switching in. So it makes it a really easy team to pilot in that way, just because you do have this guaranteed defensive switch. In VGC, we usually don't have something like this, right? In singles, obviously, you do usually have a Pokemon that you just rely on for switching. But in VGC, you don't see this a lot. So this Pokemon is just like the actual perfect switch, much like it is in singles. And it functions that way in VGC too. But then where it gets really nasty is, of course, Infestation. You can press Infestation, they're trapped in, they can no longer switch. You can start stacking that with Toxics, and they're just dying. They're dying so quick. It's not even a stall team or a stall strategy. Toxic plus Infestation, they're going to be gone in like 3 turns. It really starts to add up very quickly. You throw in some Protects in there, and they're just cooked, right? So Toxapex is very easy what it's trying to accomplish and how it functions, but it makes it very difficult to remove. Charizard is actually one of the best megas for it. Normally, Charizard appreciates the wide guard support, but in general, it just allows him to trade so well with the other Pokemon. Charizard isn't really, like, he does one-hit KO things, but like when you start to throw a Toxic down, you throw a Heat Wave, it starts to add up. And this team is like death by 1,000 cuts, right? You're getting hit with these weak Heat Waves. Normally it is timid Charizard. This one's actually going to be modest, but you're getting hit with Heat Waves. You're getting hit with Citrus Berry Rock Slides, right? You're getting hit with Toxics, and it's very slow, but it starts to add up and all your Pokemon start to faint. I think Charizard actually fits the playstyle of Toxapex incredibly well. I think Toxapex teams are going to be a thing at Worlds. I really, really do. I think this Pokemon is ridiculously strong. I'm a huge Toxapex glazer, to be fair. I've made like 4 videos about this thing. I can't get enough of this guy. Garchomp is obviously amazing synergy with Charizard. Good synergy with Toxapex as well. They have really good defensive switching. The bulky Garchomp as well fits this team perfectly, paired with those parting shots, paired with those reflects. It's very good into enemy Garchomps because it can live a Dragon Claw from the Life Orb Garchomp and then try to KO back with its own Dragon Claw. Garchomp's just one of the best guys in the game. I think he's the best guy in the game now. I think it's safe to say he's the best Pokemon. And so, yeah, he fits the team perfectly. Metagross is the weird one. Metagross is really, he's weird to me. Metagross is super weird, but he pairs well with how the team is trying to play. Again, he's very good into those fairies, which can be kind of annoying because we do have a dragon. But usually the team has a dragon, so the fairies are a little bit less scary. We do have double steel here. But yeah, he's just like pretty solid. He's a good mix-up. I don't know. I feel not super confident in Metagross whether he should stay on the team or be removed. I just don't know. King Gambit is obviously going to be one of those big sweepers as well. He pairs well with these the utility that Grimmsnarl is going to provide, but he also just has insane coverage to help hit a lot of things. He's decent into Zard with this Aqua Berry as well. Good into the Basculegion part of Big Six. That's the real thing, is that you're able to contest the Basculegion, and bringing King Gambit into Zard feels good. Next up, we have our honorary Scovillain team. Scovillain always makes cut of these tours, I swear to God. But this is a pretty simple rain team for the most part. We have Scovillain paired with Archaludon. Archaludon has been in a really, really good spot, mostly because of Parting Shot Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl can be led with Archaludon. Archaludon, it turns out, loves screens. We saw Archaludon almost win Japan Nationals with the screens from Aurora Veil Frostlass that also had Rain Dance, right? But now you don't need to run all that silly stuff. You can just run Parting Shot and screens, right? You set up your screens, then you Parting Shot out in your Pelipper, and he's unkillable. He is straight up unkillable. You pair that with Scovillain as well, and he's even more unkillable. But if that doesn't work, you also have a hyper offense Floette here that you can bring to the game, do a ton of damage, right? Pairing him with the rain mode feels pretty good. We also have Swift Swim Basculegion, which is not something you see, but it allows you to win the mirror against the Scarf guys. It does a ton of damage, obviously still, even though it does lose adaptability, but you do have the ability to run Protect. So very cool rain team here. You can also Parting Shot into your Pelipper and just start nuking things with Basculegion. You have a ton of damage from these three, and then you have really, really good supports. Pelipper also in an amazing spot. There just aren't a lot of electric type moves in the game, so Pelipper just gets to kind of run a bulky set, do a lot of damage, and Pelipper is a very, very chill spot in the metagame right now. But yeah, there's nothing really to say here. It looks like a really, really solid rain team. Then next up, we have Tinkaton. We have Tinkaton Floette Balance. Okay, sure. Okay, so this team is going to function. Wow. Okay, it doesn't actually have Sinister. That's actually crazy. Okay. It's like an aggressive Floette balance team. What is this? This is wild. So we have 3 fake out users. We have no Sinistra. We have Brick Break on Tinkaton. Let's start with the fake out users. Let's dissect all of them. So Tinkaton is going to be your anti-mirror breaker, right? Like, it's very good the Mirror Breaker, not Anti-Mirror Breaker, the Mirror Breaker. It's very good into enemy Floettes, right? You can smack it with Gigaton Hammer. Player F is going to be boosted by your own Floette and their Floette. And then Brick Break actually breaks the screens. Screens are becoming more and more popular, so having options like Brick Break is very, very cool. Especially with stuff like Floette, you want to keep the damage flowing, right? So any of that damage reduction is going to be annoying, so break them, break them. Then we have the classic instant. Obviously, he's going to pair well with King Gambit as well, pair well with Sneasler. The King Gambit isn't going to run a steal move, so Tinkathon makes up for that. But yeah, we fake out, we Calm Mind, we Swords Dance. We get the game going, right? And then we have a Feint Sneasler, which is actually really, really scary. Feint is just a good move in general, but this is open team sheet, so you know it's coming. But when you don't know it's coming, it's obviously nasty. But the threat sometimes of a Feint is so scary, right? It makes you play funky. It makes you play weird. So I kind of like the Feint option as well, especially paired with King Gambit, paired with this Floette. You can do a lot of damage if they get that turn incorrectly. And like I said, the threat of it is very, very scary as well. We have a Life Orb SD King Gambit. That's crazy damage. That is going to ruin every calc you have. A lot of Pokemon do try to survive a Sucker Punch from a +2 Black Glasses King Gambit if possible. Specifically Pokemon like Garchomp or Charizard tend to do that. But they're not surviving this one, dude. This one is going to get you. You pair that with the double fake out user, triple fake out users, and you have a pretty consistent setup here. Calm Mind, Floette. It's the stuff of legend. It's just so good. It's so strong. 3 fake out users to enable that. And then Scarf Basculation. He's kind of just there to checkmate things. I think he fits the pacing of the team very well, just because like you are trading really, really heavily with 2 of the fake out users and 1 of the setup users. 2 fake out users and a setup user, and then he can just come in and wait. While all the other Pokemon are fainting, Floette's getting crazy trades with Dazzling Gleam, Calm Mind, Moonblasts. He's waiting. And when all the Pokemon are fainted, he comes in and checkmates the game. Next up, we have Shohei Kimura. For those who do not know, he is the world champion in 2023. Zine is an incredible player. He plays in these Victory Road tournaments all the time. Gets a ton of practices, usually cuts. He's very strong. And he's actually running a Mamoswine Garchomp team. So I think that Charizard Venusaur is a good combo. I think it's gotten better. But what's kind of crazy is that he's not even running Sleep Powder. He said, nah. I just want this thing to deal damage, which is pretty crazy. And then pair that with the Mamoswine, this team's getting kind of wild. But I think that the Venusaur having those 3 coverage moves feels very good. Solar Beam as well for actual nuclear grass damage. That's pretty fire. Earth Power is really, really good on Venusaur. The ground coverage, just perfection. Fire ground coverage has always been very, very strong. But to be able to fit it 3 ground moves on this team and 2 fire, you're feeling pretty good. Sludge Bomb is also just a very, very good move into those Floette teams. In general, Venusaur has just gotten a little bit better. I think specifically it's good into the stuff like Blastoise. It can shut that down real quick. Venusaur's a great answer to that. And in general, it's just like having a grass type feels good, especially one that can deal damage, unlike stuff like Sinistra. Sash Mamoswine is pretty cool. Rock Tomb is also really crazy. You pair that though with like the bulky Zard with the Sylveon, it looks kind of fire, especially because it's running Jolly Mamoswine, and most Charizards are not outspeeding Jolly Mamoswine. He only hits 145, but most Charizards chill in the 130 range, some even as low as 120. So I do think that pairing that right now in the current metagame, this Mamoswine does outspeed most Zards, and you can consistently get those Rock Tomb setups. Ice Shard is obviously very, very strong in a Garchomp, but what's kind of funny is that the Jolly Mamoswine Ice Shard just doesn't even kill Garchomp. It's a 2-hit KO, so keep that in mind. High Horsepower is also just an incredible move. Mamozard has been good since 2014. Like, it top cut Worlds then. I'm sure it could do it again. But Mamoswine is in probably a better spot than he's been in for a bit. We see Charizard as well. Charizard's pretty boring. He does have Helping Hand, which is really crazy. But it kind of makes sense with this Venusaur. This Venusaur is doing nuclear damage, so let's make sure it gets those KOs. Let's push it over the top. Let's make it one-shot things it couldn't with Solar Beam, which I think is very, very neat. I like this a lot. And then obviously Heat Wave, Weather Ball are just going to be good. It's kind of cute as well because you're relying on Venusaur to be your grass move that you don't even have Solar Beam, and that is the move that he opted to get rid of. Then we have Scarf Garchomp. Always a classic. You don't see a lot of Scarf Garchomp anymore, but it's good. It's a good mon. I really don't have any complaints on Scarf Garchomp. It's always going to be strong. Sylveon is going to be your obligatory fairy type, and then Incineroar as well is going to support the whole team overall. I think this is kind of a cool team. Mamoswine is really cool. The Venus was kind of crazy. It's kind of wild that this was an open sheet as well, because you would expect some of the stuff on the best of one ladder would work perfectly, but they knew this was coming, and Shohei still managed to get 9th place. So now let's hop into top 8. So once again, we do have one of those Blastoise teams, but this one's actually going to have Maushold instead, and slightly different choices in terms of moves. But Maushold is kind of cute because you're just saying, hey, there's no King Gambit, there's nothing else I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make one Pokemon sweep your entire team. I only have support Pokemon here. I mean, granted, Sneasler and Incineroar do damage in the right situations, but for the most part we are relying on Blastoise and Delphox to hard carry here. We have the setup Mons, we have the setup helpers here with the Incineroar. You pair that with the Blastoise, with the Delphox, you get going, you go nuts with it. It's very simple in what you're trying to accomplish. It's just about making sure that you can actually protect your guy from the threats around it. And a lot of the times it's just navigating that team preview. I think the mouse is pretty cool though, because he does put Delphox over the top with Helping Hand, puts Blastoise over the top, and then again, Feint as well is going to make sure that you're getting those turns correct and you don't slow down the momentum. You can set up guaranteed win cons so you're not accidentally like they're protecting and switching in a pivot that can fake you out or redirect you or anything. So instead you're just like, hey, let's deal the damage right now and let's remove these threats from the battle. Obviously Sinistra is going to be very important with that healing as well to keep both of these guys topped off. Just a very, very strong team at the moment. And then we're going to have another one. Again, not too much to say. Obviously there's small differences, like the other team had Seaberry. This team has King Gambit, right? They don't want to rely solely on the Megas to carry. They instead want that secondary setup. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about this one because it is just basically the same team back to back. But again, like this is a team that you're going to need to be able to beat right now. It's kind of replacing the Floette Delphox teams. I think Floette Delphox will make a return. I don't think it's bad by any means, but Blastoise just seems to be like the new sauce, right? Like pairing him with these guys, he's kind of a cheeser. He kind of gets going and he tries to win games in those few turns as possible. And sometimes too, like I feel like when you're playing against these types of teams, playing against Blastoise, if you get the turns wrong, he's going to beat you, right? Like if you don't call the turn that he protects, if you just let them play the fake out cycling rage powder game, you're going to lose, which makes these teams really frustrating to play against. But yeah, I think Blastoise is a nice welcome addition, and he does make those teams a little bit better. And I think like Floette and Delphox are very similar sometimes. Like some Pokemon can counter both, but I feel like Blastoise and Delphox don't really have any similarities in their weaknesses. So like you really do need to bring the right answers, and you kind of need to call what your opponent's doing. And that's what makes the team so good. Next up we have Francesco Pero. He just won an AIC, and he's using something very, very similar. Funnily enough, he's using the team that he beat in finals, which I think is probably the correct play. I think Francesco's team was totally fine for that tournament, but I think moving forward, I think the way the Big Six playing and the way the meta's changing, I kind of feel like this is a better version. I could be wrong, but I do like this version a lot more. We talked about it earlier in the video. It just gives you so many dimensions to play the game, and a player like Francesco is going to be able to abuse Trick Room. He's going to be able to abuse Tailwind, and he's going to swag on you while doing it, right? Like he's still using the Pokemon that he's comfortable with. Again, it's 5 of the same Pokemon he won NAIC with. The only difference is going to be that Farigiraf over Basculegion, which I think changes the team drastically in how it plays. But a player like Francesco, he's going to shine with either version. I really do think this team is like, I like, give you a little insight. If this team did not have a horrible mirror match, I would lock this team in for Worlds right now. Genuinely. I love this team so much. I think it has so many tools, but the mirror is probably like, now mirrors in Pokemon are terrible in general, but this one is literally so solved that it's disgusting. Like the two players, I'll tell you how to play the mirror. It's very simple. You lead King Gambit plus Aerodactyl, and whichever, they're going to lead the same thing. Because if they don't lead King Gambit Aerodactyl, you win the game. There's no lead that they have that can slow those two down. Like they just can't, right? They could be like Garchomp Charizard maybe, but then you just get to Rock Slide Kowtow and they just can't KO you because you have a Sash on King Gambit, right? It's just really, really annoying. So usually what the mirror comes down to is which King Gambit low kicks. You Mega Rock Slide low kick, whichever King Gambit doesn't flinch and also gets the low kick off first wins, right? That's all it is. You kill their King Gambit, you win the game. It's really, really stupid. The mirror's so bad, and I think that's the true downfall of this team, is that the mirror's like, it's not unplayable by any means. It's just luck, like completely virtual luck, which usually isn't the case. Like, mirrors can be pretty disgusting. Like, I will not say they're not, but yeah, I think this team just hates the mirror. I'll give you a little new insight because we got to talk about this team so many times. But yeah, Trick Room is really, really good with Sylveon. You pair that with King Gambit, you have this insane Trick Room mode. Charizard is also incredible in Trick Room. So like, these four create a godlike Trick Room mode, and then these guys create the godlike Tailwind mode. You can also bring him as well and run non-Mega Arrow. Again, this team is just so flexible. It gives you a lot of game plans and different options into enemy teams. So a player like Francesco is going to shine using something like that. And then finally, in 5th place, well, finally of top 8, is we have Maddie Morgan with Big 6. So this is our first Big 6 in 5th place. There is one more Big 6. Yeah, just one. But this team is just good. This team is incredible. Everyone knows what Big 6 is at this point, but we'll break it down a little bit for you anyways. I like to see what people make their like small little decisions on, like where their life orb is, where their defensive berries are. And so Maddie Moo is opting to run Chople Berry King Gambit with no Protect, which is pretty cool. Not something you see a ton of in the current metagame. But clearly, obviously, still very, very good. What I like about it as well is that it matches up very good into the Sylveon Photograph stuff. If you're the slower King Gambit, you can actually underspeed Sylveon, put pressure on that guy in Trick Room. It's beautiful. I'm a big fan of the 2-speed or the 1-speed King Gambit with Chople Berry. And then there is going to be a Life Orb on Garchomp to try and deal as much damage as possible. With Earthquake, Dragonclaw, Rockslide, the standard set, you could spam Earthquake with that Garchomp. But just in general, having Earthquake Life Orb damage is so good on this team. This team plays very, very hyper aggressively. We're also going to see that Mystic Water Basket Legion, which I think is very, very strong. Mystic Water Basque is just good. Basket Legion Whimsicott is just simply one of the best leads in the entire game. So launching that one out feels pretty incredible. From the Big 6 games I played, it felt really nice. Charizard Floette is a nasty double mega switch up that you just have to call. If you don't call the answers to Charizard are not the same as Floette, and it makes this team like super frustrating to play against. Whimsicott enables both of them perfectly with Tailwind. Encore is such a pain in the ass. This team is just really, really good. No surprise to see a skilled player like Maddie Morgan getting 5th with Big 6. And then next up, we do have one of the Hoge brothers. So the Hoge brothers are known for their creativity. They run really crazy stuff. They've run Zoroark, they've run Gunk Shot Sneasler before it's cool. They ran it with Miraidon. They love Ursaluna, but there's no Ursaluna in this deck. So the Hoge brothers have resorted to Bog Standard. I saw a tweet the other day that said, you know this meta is cooked when the Hoge brothers are running Bog Standard. I'm a huge fan of the Hoge brothers, and I think they picked an incredible team that we've talked about a little bit already. But it is sad to see that the meta has even pushed the Hoge brothers to Bog Standard. I think this team is just so incredible. I've said it already. You have Tail Room options. You can put so much pressure with the King Gambit. They opted to run Protect on their Photograph. Small thing, but I like Protect a little bit more than Helping Hand. Sylveon's going to output that fairy damage. Garchomp's just annoying. Charizard's really good. You have Tail Room. I don't know what else to say, man. I talked about this team a ton already. Tail Room, it's really good. Let's go to the next team. Sorry, Hoge brothers, your team is awesome and you played incredibly well, but it is painfully boring and probably one of the most meta teams. I'm very interested to see how the metagame adapts to that team, because I don't know, from my experience playing it, a lot of the time it can also just bullshit its way with rock slides. That's the thing. Like, here, I'm gonna pull it back up because we're still talking about it. I kind of moved on too quick, but even if you think you have a good answer, like we saw Eric Rios just rock slide his way through the bad matchups, and there's nothing wrong with that, because rock slide is just such a high flinch move that you can just do that in the bad matchups, and then in the good matchups you just get to put the pedal on the gas and just sweep them with your insane damage. You also have like natural, really, really good bulk. Charizard, Aerodactyl, Garchomp, Sylveon are all naturally very, very bulky. The frailest guy is a King Gambit, who also just doesn't even get knocked down the sash when you get hit by a Life Orb Earthquake. So even the bulkless man is still bulky, right? This team just has so much bulk, so much utility. I'm curious to see how it will be taken down, because I've played this team a lot. I'm still playing this team on the Champions Ladder. I don't know how you beat it, man. I really don't. I don't know what like shuts it down completely. I don't think there is something. It might just be Big 6 level-esque, where it is just one of the best teams in the game. We're back to this Blastoise Floette stuff, but this time there's a Life Orb King Gambit as well. I think this is the same one, right? No, we have Rock Tomb Sneasler. That definitely wasn't on the last one. Rock Tomb's pretty cute though. Again, we have all the fake up guys. We have this team set up real nice for me. We have the 3 supports, the 3 setups. Pick which support for whichever setup you think is, like, whichever one you think is best. Like, you're like, hey, I think Blastoise is the best one. I'm going to bring him. Pick one of your fake out users and just go crazy, right? It's very simple. It is the new Balance Bros team. It's the Calm Mind Raging Bolt of this format. The cool texture, Huckleberry again is cool. Rock Tomb is nice to help enable Floette further. You don't really need it for Blastoise, but also just to hit Charizard is really nice. Helping Hand, that's nice. You can really enable the Water Spouts or the Gleams, and then Life Orb King Gambit once again. So now we are in the finals here. First things first, we have a world champion Toller Webb appearing. For those who do not know, Toller won Worlds in 2012 seniors. In my book, that counts, but it is seniors. Toller's a good friend of mine, and he's just been grinding Big Six. I think he said in his tweets he was trying to figure out Big Six, just trying to figure out how to beat it, what to become a master of it, so he can start figuring it out. And he ended up just getting second with it. So he was the best Big Six player in the tournament. Some of the choices he made are pretty interesting here. Most notably, we have Low Kick, no Iron Head King Gambit, which I'm personally, when I play Big Six, that's how I prefer King Gambit. Chopaberry, though, as the defensive option. No Iron Head is nice. Like, Iron Head's really nice into the Floette and Whimsicott, but for the most part, your King Gambit is meant to kill other King Gambits, and having that ability is really nice. And then you just kind of rely on your Floette or your Charizard to help deal with the enemy fairy types, specifically Floette. I do think Iron Head can be nice, specifically for Sylveon. But that's the thing about Big Six, is that Toller didn't run, he wanted to run Protect. He wants to have that safe option. So instead, he's a little bit weaker to the fairies, right? So there's like small little micro adjustments, like we saw in the other version, Moo. He ran Iron Head with no Protect. So he does have a little bit better option into those fairy types. It's just all like little micro decisions that force you to play each matchup slightly differently. But that's Big Six. And it allows you to tailor the team for what you think the meta is going to be or what you think you need to beat. It's boring, it's cringe, don't get me wrong. Like, I hate this team as much as you guys do probably. But at the same time, like, those small things can result in you winning a tournament, right? So then we have Charizard. He's very, very boring. He Wave, Weather Ball, Solar Beam. Nothing too crazy there. This is gonna be Timid Floette. It's kind of weird because I think Timid Floette is really, really good in the mirror, but you do lose a lot of damage. But being able to speed tide the enemy Garchomp, that's huge. Being able to potentially outspeed him is potentially game winning as well, especially if they aren't Jolly Garchomp. Some are not Jolly Garchomp. Some are Adamant, right, with Citrus Berry. So having that potential speed win on them is huge. Whimsicott is obviously very boring, very effective. Sash Whims, he doesn't change. Whimsicott never changes. These three, the only thing that changes is Floette's nature. Everything else on Big Six can change drastically. These three are the item swappers, the move changers, but these three, nothing. They are locked in. Garchomp for the most part doesn't change either moveset wise, but I have seen some without Earthquake. I ran Stomping Citrus for a bit as well, but this is going to be a Life Orb Garchomp set, so again, it's all about dealing as much damage as possible, having the most speed. Timid Floette, max speed Jolly Garchomp, it's just brutal. Toller's going to have the speed ceiling on you most of the time, especially in Tailwind, so Life Orb Garchomp's just good. That's the big thing. It's Big Six, it is Life Orb Garchomp now. It got better, it got buffed. And then it's going to be, since Life Orb was on Garchomp, Mystic Water Basculegion is usually what you tend to go. Mystic Water, it's usually Mystic or Life Orb. There's no real in between. Personally, I'm a big fan of Mystic Water. I still think it's very, very good. It allows you to keep the natural bulk that Basculegion does normally have, which I think is nice. It's kind of incredible. But yeah, so those were Toller's choices. Congrats to Toller for doing so well. He's a good friend of mine, but sorry, Toller. It's kind of a boring team, but I think his choices are cool nonetheless, right? I'm a big fan of Chopal. It seems like Chopal King Gambit is pretty good. I've been running Black Glasses myself, but Chopal did Toller and Moo well, and then Life Orb Garchomp as well seems to be, in this tournament at least, the tournament winners, right? And then finally, we have Marco Silva winning the entire tournament with his Regulation A team. So this is the team that he brought to NAIC, a team he's been kind of playing on his streams or just on the side. This is the signature Marco team. It's very, very similar to that other team, but I think that with the King Gambit, but I think that the the item choices really do shift it into a team of its own. It is very similar, and I'm sure a lot of the answers that beat that team work. But at the same time, I think like Charcoal Incineroar is just a completely different Pokemon than Sash King Gambit, and Sash Aerodactyl plays a huge role, especially with Wide Guard. Those are two changes that completely shift the functioning of the team. So let's talk about Marco's modes and what he's able to do with this team, because I think it is a very cool team that kind of does seem like it has a better matchup into the Mirror versus the King Gambit version. So first things first, he's got Calm Photograph. Calm Photograph is pretty crazy. Usually you see Bold, usually you see Relaxed. It's a very small thing, but a very big thing. He also is running Helping Hand Photograph, so he's relying on Charizard, Sylveon, and friends to deal the damage, right? He's also not min speed nature, so he's able to move before stuff like potentially King Gambit, depending on their speed, which is kind of interesting. The Photograph is able to function a little bit better in Tailwind as well. That Charcoal Incineroar is going to deal insane damage with Flare Blitz. That is the big thing here. Pairing it with the Charizard, you kind of turn Incineroar into a sweeper. Obviously, it does have those supportive moves in Fake Out and Parting Shot, but it also can sweep with stuff like Charcoal Boosted Flare Blitz. Then, of course, Sylveon also has access to Yawn here, which is not something you see as much as Hyper Beam, but Yawn can set up insane end games, right? Like, especially when you can't switch, or if you're able to potentially threaten a double protect, it can just completely shift the momentum of a game. A very cool move for Marco to run on this team. The Garchomp's pretty simple. It's just gonna be that Life Orb stomping EQ set that we see a lot of. Rock Slide falling a little bit out of favor, but at the same time, Marco is relying on Rock Slide from stuff like the Aerodactyl, right? Like having that Rock Slide does allow him to contest Zard in other ways, and also Life Orb Dragon Claw still does so much damage to Zard. And then he has a Zard of his own, obviously can pair really well in Tailwind. Having that Sash Aerodactyl gives you guaranteed Tailwinds as well. Basically, it's very difficult to remove this guy considering his speed. And then he also has Wide Guard to help protect the Zard, help protect Incineroar, Garchomp from those nasty spread moves. I really like this team from Marco, and it's clearly a team he is very comfortable with and confident in. The Tailwind mode goes crazy with Aerodactyl, Sylveon, Zard, and then the Trick Room mode goes crazy with Photograph, Sylveon, Zard, right? Incin can kind of function in both, obviously does prefer the Trick Room, and then Garchomp is going to prefer the Tailwind. So it's kind of this split team, but it's just, again, like I said, Marco's been playing this team for a very long time. And he brought it to NAIC, did really well there. And yeah, no surprise to see Marco winning this big tournament. But what does that mean for the meta? I mean, Charizard is clearly still dominating this game, and I don't think that's going to stop. I think Charizard is the best Mega, and I expect Charizard to win Worlds. Obviously, it's not set in stone. It's not guaranteed. I think there are other Pokemon who can contest Charizard, but at the same time, he is very good at what he's doing, and he's continuously doing well in these tournaments. We're seeing Big Six do well as well with two very good players. Maddie Morgan went undefeated, I think in Swiss, right? Yeah, he went undefeated in Swiss, only losing to this Blastoise team, which then Toller Webb did defeat with the same 6 Pokemon. So Big Six clearly still on top. I do think there's still room for adjustment. I do think that Big Six and this Photograph version have set themselves up as the main targets. So I'm curious to see how the meta is going to adapt to adjust to them, because I do think for this tournament's timing, I do think that those teams are still on top and not, like, obviously people are trying to counter them, but the players still using them are very good. But I think we just need to wait a little bit, and people are going to come up with some sauce that is potentially able to do them in. We have a huge tournament next weekend in the Scraw Grand Champions Festival Encore. So Scraw put on another huge tournament to celebrate the release of mobile. I'll link that one down below if you guys want to sign up. I don't know if there's still spots, but either way, I'll link it down below so you know where to check out all the action. And we'll be reviewing that tournament next Monday. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.